So I mean, that's, touring for me is fun. I mean, that's how I make, primarily make my living. But I mean, I try to enjoy it. I don't just sit around the hotel room online all day like I've been doing here for 4 months.
Right.
Uh, I try and I try and get out and see things. I have friends in other cities, and family in some cases, and so I try and if I'm near Chicago, I see the folks from Ludwig. If I'm near Boston, I may see some of the people from Sabian, et cetera, for the companies that, if I'm in New York City, I'll see the guys from Evans, from D'Addario. So I try and see the people, because NAMM is always, it's never the same to see those people at NAMM. It's nice to see them socially. Sometimes we'll just have dinner and they may have other plans. They won't even come to the show, but we'll get together and we'll visit, and it's a chance to see them when they're not sort of under the gun, when they're not trying to sell at the show, and when
Right.
they're
Or
not
they're
working.
running from one meeting to another meeting or something like
Right,
that. You can't even
right,
find them half the time. And like, yeah, no,
yeah. I
I'm
mean, we go to NAMM and it's largely a social thing. Well, not you. You work the show. You work your butt off at the show. But I
well,
go there, and it's very social thing for me because I see a lot of the guys from the companies. I see guys from music stores I know. I see a lot of musician friends. And that's for me. It's a very social kind of an event. I mean, I hang around the Ludwig booth a lot, but that's mostly because that's where people know where to find me. So if I sit tight, they all come to me. And I don't mind hanging around a bunch of Ludwig drums either. I go through, I tune all the drums in the booth, I make sure they all sound great. That's how I learn about a lot of the product, is I get my hands on, especially in the days before the show starts. I'm setting stuff up with them and I'm tuning all of these drums, and the way I want, but they don't seem to they seem to like the way I tune them mostly, and all the different snares. And I really get a chance to hear how this drum is different than this drum. I really get a chance to hear how the keystones sound different than the classic maples. And I don't want to do a Ludwig ad here, but I mean, I really get a lot more familiar with the product by being able to be hands-on with it while it's still quiet, because once the show begins, of course, you can't hear anything.
yeah,
But all the people, so I do a lot of socializing kind of with the guys. I mean, we're working, but I get a chance to hang with them. And once the show starts, they're working. There's really not a lot of time to sit around and shoot the breeze, and that's what they do. But I enjoy going to the show. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of all the different gear. I'm a fan of seeing the people there and stuff like that. And yeah, it's noisy and it's crowded sometimes. Now, if they go through with NAMM this time, and I think Disneyland's going to lead the way as far as can people gather in one place? And if Disneyland is opened up before then, in time for NAMM to actually go ahead and book the event, I think NAMM will go through in that case. In which case, it's going to be a very interesting show. I think a lot of exhibitors are probably not going to go. I think a lot of buyers are probably not going to go. I mean, it's bad enough in healthy times you go there and people get sick because it's just such a big petri dish of people from all over the world, and
get the
it's it'll be interesting to see if it happens, and if it does, exactly what kind of show it is and what the convention center is going to do about, maybe they're going to make wider aisles. I don't know. Maybe they'll have hand sanitizer at the end of each aisle. Every booth's going to have a hand sanitizer thing that people have to use, stuff like that. They may cut back. NAMM may cut back on visitor badges just to cut down on the amount of people there, which is frankly not a bad idea anyway. But this may be what it takes to help reduce the amount of people that are in there, and that sometimes get in, and then make all the noise, and sometimes get in the way of people being able to do business. It's
yeah.
just, it's tough. And NAMM is a whole other discussion. I've been going to NAMM since 1985, and I don't think I've ever missed a show. I've
I
been there every year since, and several summer NAMMs as well. Started going to summer NAMM when it was still in Chicago. It was at McCormick Place, which is where it had been for many, many years. And I think it either outgrew that, or they weren't big enough to fill it and just became too expensive. They started exploring other, I think Louisville, they might have done one in New Orleans, and eventually, and Nashville and stuff. And they eventually settled in Nashville, which I think is a cool show. Again, a lot smaller, but a lot more fun after you get out, go down to Lower Broadway, or go into somebody's playing a club somewhere, or hosting a jam, and it's just a lot of fun. That show is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've never done the summer NAMM actually. I've honestly have never gone. I do the winter NAMM show in Anaheim, and I've been doing that since the early 2000s. And and I don't think I've ever missed one either since then. Not quite
Yeah.
as you. You got a few years on me, but I've never done the summer NAMM show. Usually it just never really fit in with the schedule, and I didn't have much of an interest, I guess, in doing it twice a year. You know what I mean? I know that it's not the same, and it's smaller, and it's not as crazy, but once a year always seemed enough for me. Because like you said, you know, if you're not lucky, you're going to get sick, you're going to get the anthrax, and it was always a big social event for me anyway, getting the chance to see and visit with people that I might only get to see once a year, because they're out of state normally or something like that, or out of the country. It's only really the last couple of years where I've been working the whole time and it hasn't been social for me. But usually it was always a big social thing, because like you said, when you're on tour, you like to get out and go to some local shops and visit people, if you can, at businesses and stuff like that. You know, anytime I go to Indianapolis, I try to hit the Yamaha office that's there, and you know, we'll go to breakfast or something like that. But that's, you know, really NAMM is the best opportunity to try and get to see them if you only get to see them once a year, which is nice.
Right.
So, but like you said, once the show turns on, it's chaos, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy I go in on Monday and start. It's funny how that began. You know, it only started with Ludwig. I would go, the original drum company I endorsed was called Impact. They were out of Wisconsin, and I became very friendly with the owner of Impact, and his family. Would, you know, he and his wife would work the booth, and I'd come in the day before, and you know, or they would come in a couple of days before, set up the booth, and then take a day, and we would go out to dinner, and we'd, you know, go drive around, do some stuff, and then I would just sort of hang around the booth, and I was with them for 21 years.
Oh, wow.
So I would hang around that booth because people knew to find me there. So that's how I didn't get into NAMM first with them. I got there first, met them when I was at that show, and then shortly thereafter ordered a kit, and used those drums very successfully on every album and every tour until they had sold the company, and the new owners didn't really want to do drums anymore. And it's like, that doesn't bode well. I better start thinking about, you know, a different way to go. And I'd always been a Ludwig guy at heart. My very first drums in life were Ludwigs. I always had Ludwigs hanging around, and the timing was right. And I moved over to Ludwig at the end of 2006, and I've been very happy there, and very happy with the product. The consistency has been really, really good. I mean, everyone has ups and downs, but they had some quality control issues, just some little things, nothing that couldn't be corrected, but I mean, just things that made you wonder, and that's all taken care of. Everything's good with them, you know, and I'm very happy to be on board with them. So I enjoy going in. You know, I would go in the day before. I'd go in on the Wednesday and just sort of tune the booth and sort of say hi to everyone, and go around to some of the other booths and say hi to my guys and stuff like that. And then I would spend 4 days at the show. And then that turned into going in 2 days earlier. Then that turned into going in on the Monday before the stuff was even in the booth, you know, and we would just sit around and you know, shoot the breeze, and then, you know, the forklifts with the pallets would start showing up, and then we would start unpacking stuff. And you know, so we'd get a lot of socializing done during that first day especially, and over the next couple of days. And then by the time Thursday morning hits and everyone else comes in, then it's just, there's just no talking to them. But that's okay. I mean, that's, you know, that's another aspect of the show. And honestly, you know, I don't like the noise, and I don't like the crowds. You know, I like being able to go and talk to somebody at another company, or talk to a friend of mine or something, without somebody beating the heck out of a kit, you know, 10 feet away or even 50 feet away. It's still really annoying. I mean, in that hall. And since they have sort of segregated now the industries, it was very for years, you know, kit companies were spread all over the place, and they really vie. Now, NAMM has been for decades, has been wanting to group the industries as much as possible. You know, what do you do with Hoshino? Does it go with guitars, or does it go with drums? You know, well, for a long time it was in the guitar room in Hall C, and
because it's in D.
Now it's in D, because that's where the guitars went. So the drums went with that.
Yeah.
In fact, Ludwig, I think, was the only actual drum company that was already in Hall C. Anyway, but back in the day, way back, in the 80s and into the 90s, companies were all over the place. You would find drum companies in all of the halls, and they liked being in certain positions in those halls, or near a certain door, near a certain entry or something like that. Or they liked being near another company, a certain other company, or they liked not being near a certain other company for whatever reason. And they liked their positions in the hall, and they didn't ever want that messed with. And NAMM was all the time in the back of their heads. They really wanted to group all the strings and horns in one place, and all the drums in one place, and all the guitars in another place, and all the software in another place, as that became a much bigger thing. And and all the quiet stuff, the ukuleles and the wood distributors and the cable distributors downstairs where that hall got built. Anyway, they when the convention center expanded the first time that I recall, which I think was in 99 or 2000, and there were 2 or 3 shows that were in the LA convention centers in those 2 buildings. And NAMM at that time, because it was a temporary deal, they kind of grouped, they sort of explained to everyone, sorry, but we're just going to have to, this is a temporary deal. We're just going to have to force you in here. I'm sorry if there's 10 drum companies in a row and you don't want to be near your competitor, but that's just the way it's going to be. And then when Anaheim was ready to bring NAMM back again, they sort of kept a little bit of that grouping. So Hall D was kind of the drum hall, but it wasn't strictly drums, but there were, mostly drums. And certain halls were beginning to look like certain things. Well, a couple of years ago, NAMM built these 2 new halls, and I forget there's a name for them, but they have a lot of the electronic stuff, and it's a 2-level hall, sort of next to the arena, and you can get there from the lobby, or you can walk there from the outside. It's kind of behind the Hilton Hotel a little bit, and so they moved a whole lot of companies into these halls. There was a big change in the way the floor plans were going to be, and NAMM took that opportunity to group everyone. Okay, now because all these companies, we've had to change things around because we've got 2 brand new halls. You guys are all going to be here, and now you guys are good. So Zildjian is essentially 2 booths down from Sabian now, and they weren't too far in Hall D, but back in the day, I think they were in different halls. They weren't near each other at all.
I actually didn't mind the change. Like those 2 new halls they kind of built behind the Hilton that you were talking about. Yeah. I actually still have never gone in there because it was stuff that I didn't have an interest in. I actually liked the change they made a couple of years ago. They widened the aisles.
Yeah.
Like you said, they grouped everything together, and I kind of liked not having to run all the way through 2 halls to get to one booth I needed to see, and then 2 halls that way. And then it's like, oh, you're there. The only booth that's out of the way for me now is Yamaha, because they have their own thing in the yacht where it's just Yamaha, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Everyone else, Aquarian, Regal Tip, Paiste, they're all in one little cluster.
Yeah.
And I don't have to hunt and find where'd you move this year, and I don't have to push my way through 10,000 guitar players, noodling on whatever.
Well, and I like that as well. I like having it grouped, except that the noise is even worse than it was at Hall D.
Well, and I haven't spent much time on the convention floor the last 2 years to really understand the noise. Like you said, I've been.
Now the good thing is about those 2 new halls. If you want a quiet place, even Hall E downstairs has become a little bit noisy because there's some guitar and keyboard people down there like jamming and doing stuff. And I would go down there for lunch because it was quiet and get away. And that's not such a quiet hall anymore. The quiet halls now are these other 2 halls, and I forget, they have like initials. There's a sort of a name for the halls, but these other 2 halls, because there's stuff in there that generally doesn't make much noise, or maybe there's some quiet speakers playing music as needed, but that's the place you go now that's where it's quiet, to sort of get away.
Insider tip there. Good insider tip. I'll remember that next time.
And now is there anything to see in there for drummers? Probably not. It's just nice to get out of all the noise, take a little walk, it's quiet, it's calm. It's really nice. And then as you get back into the sort of the main outer lobby, and there's some doors open, you start hearing the noise, you realize you're back in it. And sometimes it's nice to get away for 20 minutes and you come back a little bit refreshed. But being sort of on the side of Hall C, where 90% of the noisemakers are, even if you go across the aisle to the other side, it's not as bad. But the Ludwig booth is on the edge of all of that, and it's just,
Yeah.
and to their credit, they don't allow much noise to be made in the Ludwig booth. Only absolutely as necessary.
Yeah.
But everyone else, a lot of other companies are just making a lot of needless noise, and they're not demonstrating anything. There's guys in there just wailing, and some of the exhibitors take great pride in being shut down. They get, or being told to be quiet. They take a lot of pride in getting that attention, and having a big crowd around because they think it's doing some good. And unfortunately, that's not the way they're selling instruments. They're making a lot of noise and getting attention for the wrong reasons, and making it tough for their neighbors to do business. I mean, the people are there to do business. Some people are.
Yeah.
Not the people making noise, beating on drums and wailing on guitars. They're not there to do business. They're not testing product. They're not having some new drum or new head or new cymbal, being demonstrated for them in a reasonable, realistic way. Somebody goes in and starts bashing on stuff, and there's a couple of notorious booths that do that, and a cymbal company of all things, and they have drums, but they're not really a drum company.
Yeah.
But there's one cymbal company in there that is notorious for getting warned and pissing off their neighbors, and it's frankly, I think Bill Denimore, Pork Pie, did the right thing a couple of years ago when he started his own, well, not a booth. I mean, he went in and rented a space about a mile away, mile and a half away, and people would Uber over, or he would send a car down to get, the buyers and bring them, and he could do business, and without all the noise of NAMM, but he could enjoy, the fact that the buyers had come in from around the country, around the world, and if they would have an appointment with him, and he could do his business unfettered, and he's done very, very well with that. I mean, I know it cost him less to do the show that way than it would at NAMM, and I know that he's doing more business than he does at NAMM. When he was going to NAMM, I don't know that he'll ever go back into the NAMM show. And he's not leeching off of it. I mean, he just couldn't make it work at NAMM, and I understand that, and it's working very well for him. And I think a few other people are going to follow suit.
Yeah, it sounds like you played it real smart, actually, and maybe that's something that comes out for this next year or two, because I'm sure they're going to have some kind of, if they do have a show, they're going to have some kind of new rules and regulations, and that might be something that more people start doing, actually, as like little off-campus kind of display setups and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised if that started becoming a trend, after.
Well, if it does, the caveat is these people will probably, I mean, I wouldn't swear to it, but I'm guessing that Pork Pie is no longer a NAMM member.
Well,
as a result of not, of sort of abandoning that. I don't know for sure. I mean, you could be a NAMM member and not have to exhibit, of course, obviously, but I have a feeling they can take too kindly, to his, basically having, a mile and a half away, and, while the convention center is trying to make money. I mean, they don't put NAMM in there because they enjoy having it. It's big money to the convention center, and they make that money from people coming in and exhibiting. And the unions make money who work there from coming in and moving your stuff in and out of your booth, and hooking up electricity and laying a carpet in your booth and stuff like that. They do this to make money, and that's good. I mean, it's nice that NAMM can have a place to do that. I mean, God forbid they try to do it at their offices down in Carlsbad, try and bring 100,000 people in there. Good luck.
Yeah. Insane. Well, we're pushing like 2.5 hours on this right now.
I got nowhere to go.
I haven't had dinner yet, and I've been in this room for 10 hours.
Oh, geez, you got to go eat. You got to go eat something.
From a recording session this morning to teaching a bunch of lessons on Zoom right to our chat, and I've been in this room the entire time. I've not left this room because of that other day. That's like the normal schedule nowadays. It's weird. So
it is, yeah, it's a new norm. I mean, it's a whole new thing, and I know it's very frustrating for me. I mean, not from a financial standpoint, but I miss being out playing with people. I mean, I miss being out playing for people. There's just, it's not the same sitting here just beating on the drums. That's not why I do it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The last show I played was literally a day before they closed everything down. I played that Saturday night, and that Monday, I was supposed to play that Monday, and it got canceled that afternoon, and that was when everything shut down, was that night. So that Saturday night was the last time I had been on stage, was right before,
Wow.
2 days before, and then the rest of my time has been spent here. Thankfully, still playing and still able to keep a roof over my head, but it's not the same as being on stage with a couple of other people with an
Yeah.
audience in front of you. I'm patiently waiting for the day that will happen again. And there's been some little opportunities here and there, but some of them just haven't panned out, and some of them just didn't seem like they were a good. It didn't seem like it seemed like it was more a case of like to do it just to do it and not for any other reason than that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be the first person to jump and go play in somebody's garage for neighbors walking by. You know, but like a real stage with a real audience and a real show, that's what I'm missing the most right now. And like I said, I'm not complaining. I'm very, very, very thankful that I've been able to have this space that I'm in, and been able to conduct business from here. But it's never going to measure up, you know.
Yeah. Well, this is just going to be lost time, and we will get back to, I think we'll get back to normal, I don't know how soon, not by September, but,
Right.
it'd probably be, early to the middle of next year. And I think, and the key is going to be when there's a vaccine, and people are just going to have to go out and get the vaccine, and still be somewhat careful, but, that's going to, I think, open up things again. And once again, we look, here in Southern California, we look to Disneyland. And if Disneyland can open, then everything else can open. If you can have people, gather in a place like that, then you can open restaurants and bars and clubs and venues and ballparks and malls and the whole thing. And you get a vaccine, and that's what you do. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are anti-vaccine. If they're smart, again, if they're smart, they just have to bite the bullet and just do it. This is not, you can, say what you will about COVID, but it is real, regardless of, people have all sorts of conspiracies. I don't, it's real, and I'm acting accordingly. I wear, the few times I go out, I wear a mask, I wear gloves. I'm very careful. I have a pair of shoes that I only wear outside, and when I get back to the door, they stay there, and I have different shoes I wear inside. And for my own backyard, I have different shoes I wear in my own backyard. I mean, I'm very, very careful about stuff, and have stayed well, I guess. I mean, I don't have, I feel good. I don't have any of the supposed symptoms. No headaches, no fevers, no, my taste buds are good.
Good.
I'm not, I think by being careful, right from the start. But I think, getting back to the vaccine, I think once there's a vaccine, I think that's going to be the turning point. And I think things will open hard and fast at that point. It's like, great, vaccine, we're all safe. Let's get back to normal. Let's get back to work. Let's get back to school. Let's get back to the sports games. Let's get back to the clubs. Let's get back to eating in restaurants. Let's get back to flying on planes. There's a lot of stuff we can't do just because this has gone on and on. So I think the key is going to be the vaccine. That'd be great if it happens, by the end of the year or early next year. I don't know. I'm sure several people are working on it.
Yeah, I hope so. And like you said, we got to watch what the mouse does. The mouse has got the keys to the kingdom right now. So,
but literally, and that's, and not just for what NAMM does, but I think that's going to be the key to what NAMM does. Now, that Disneyland was going to open on the 17th,
yeah,
which was their 65th, I believe, anniversary. And that, with about a week to go, that got yanked. And partly just, I think the employees weren't too thrilled about it, but also just the governor said, no, it's just, the numbers are going the wrong way again. And that's, had they opened and continued and everything would have been okay, I'm pretty sure NAMM would go through. At this point, I don't know. I mean, they can't decide in December if they're going to do NAMM. They have to know, NAMM has to know what's going on. I think sometime in November is their cutoff for whether they can do a show or not.
Yeah.
And I mean, so we'll know by then. I mean, will things turn around in in the next 3.5 months? Don't know.
It's anybody's guess at this point. All we can do is, like you're saying, just try to stay healthy, stay safe. eat right, get exercise, take precautions. You know, that's kind of it. So
Get a green screen. They're very cool.
I
If you get,
kind of like this one. You know, I like
yours is cool. Yours is, yeah. You got a
so,
good background. You don't want to see what's behind me. You
yeah.
don't want to know.
Well, if you got to, if you need to camouflage something, there, the green screen looks good. See, even that just looks nice. It's better than,
Yeah.
like I said, it's better than like sitting at my kitchen table, which is how I did a couple other interviews, and then it was pointed out to me, and they were like, you need a different background than the blinds next to you and your living room behind you or something like that. So then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start doing interviews from here when I'm on the other end and I'm doing an interview for somebody else. And then it was just like, well, if I'm going to start chatting with friends and doing interviews, that looks great. Then I might as well have a cool environment. And I started hanging memorabilia on all the walls, because this was all just like plain for the longest time, for years. It was like soundproof and acoustic foam in here, because no one saw the inside of this room but me. And so I did the studio upgrades to start recording in this room back in March. I started buying tapestries and I started cleaning up the walls and ripping stuff down and bringing stuff out. So I covered, you can't see it from here, but the wall behind me is all acoustic foam, but the wall here and the wall there behind there, the acoustic foam is covered with tapestries.
Oh.
And then above it, all the way around the room, is banners from companies that I endorse, and drum heads. I have 5 drum heads across this wall here from various bands I've been in, and then I got, you see there's 2 back there, and then a couple of those ones there are autographed, not even by bands, by hockey players.
Close enough.
I got
Hey, hockey players use sticks too, so
right. I got Ryan Miller up there, and so and then again here, this wall is all storage with floor to ceiling road cases on shelving units. There's 5 drum kits in here.
Wow.
4 of them are Yamahas and 3 of them are set up.
Nice.
So
I got it. Well, I'll show you. Let's see. I'll give you one view of where I keep stuff. There we go.
Oh, gorgeous.